it's good to get divorced. अब मुझसे कौन शादी करेगा? I want to be the best at being a divorcee.
You lost your brother, right? You were very close to him.
Schizophrenia, diagnosed schizophrenic, and later committed suicide. But you know, it's such an integral part of my life. He wrote such a sweet message for me in a suicide note. You know, he wrote a letter to my mom. He literally walked into the room and saw it like, visually for a father to walk in and see your son dead.
You used the word perfect wife. Why were you trying to be perfect? Your mom did a lot of things which were far ahead of her time.
Yeah, shocking. It's Protima Bedi who streaked on the beach without any clothes. She says, now it's come a full circle back to me.
How was your relationship with your father? Your father obviously had quite a few relationships. He was married 3 times. Your relationship...
This is his 4th marriage.
Yes, it is his 4th
Yes.
marriage. So he was married 3 times. How was your relationship with his other wives? Did you end up meeting Parveen, Babi through your dad?
Yeah. They can't tamper with it. They know everything.
When your dad came here, he told me this statement. He says, when we were in an open relationship, it actually started affecting both of us because we couldn't accept first film, Vish Kanya.
And I was the sexy girl. I was cast as this sex symbol of India. Virginity is nothing but a big issue over a small tissue. But children order, what are you demanding for the part?
Jo Jeeta Wohi Sikandar, what did it do to your career?
And that visual of me on top of the car, for some reason, has stuck, mainly in men's minds, I think. I'm like, Amir.
Then why did you disappear?
I got married to Farhan, who came from a conservative Muslim family.
Was Salman Khan actually your confidant when he used to tell you that he's going through a tough time and he used to confide in you and you once told him ki maine pyar kiya is not going to work? Stood by Aryan Khan when he was getting arrested during that time.
Why are you going out there with arrest warrants for millions, so much for nudity, when Naga Babas are roaming around with their private parts and Ambani ka beta, Ambani business mein chala gaya. No one shouting nepotism there.
So all your boyfriends are all friends with each other.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Pooja Bedi, and you know what? It's time to subscribe to Sid Kannan's YouTube channel right now.
देखो, ये जब पॉडकास्ट के बारे में लोग बात करते हैं ना कि पॉडकास्ट हो रहा है, ये मेरी दोस्त जो है पूजा बेदी ने जस्ट पूजा इतने टाइम पहले किया. तो जब लोग कहते हैं पॉडकास्ट का ईरा है, एवरीवनस डूइंग अ चैट शो, यू मस्ट बी लाइक, यू नो, मैंने 20 साल पहले किया. डू यू फील लाइक दैट
Honestly, Sid, let's just put it this way. I love to talk, okay? And I get paid to talk, which is such a great equation to have, right? And yes, 20 years ago, was it 20 years ago? Damn, well, almost 20 years ago, I did the talk show Just Pooja. और उस talk show में, you know, अलग-अलग प्रकार के, you know, हस्तियाँ आते थे. You had film stars coming to talk about different aspects of filmmaking, or, you know, is Bollywood a man's world? And you had people coming on, celebrities coming on to discuss living in together. उस ज़माने में living in together बड़ा sin था, but to discuss the openness of the situation. You had couples coming to discuss the most intimate matters. You had divorced women. You had Amrita Singh coming on to talk about life post-divorce. You had Salman Khan on my show, Amir Khan on my show. All the people came on my show because it was a fun show, but it was very insightful. It was very hard-hitting. I asked very tough questions in a very nice way.
Don't we all try and do that?
and I got away with it. And it was, we talked about, I mean, I literally got the BMC commissioner on my show. I had Wendell Rodrigues come on to talk about homosexuality. I had a police commissioner on the same show. Us waqt, it was a criminal offense, you know, to be homosexual. And, you know, and I basically, you know, एक talk show का एक मेरे लिए एक मतलब होता था, which was to educate and empower. And अगर आप मेरे columns को देखिए, हार्ट चक्र जो कि टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया में मैंने वापस 18 साल, आई थिंक I've written those columns. Again, उसका मकसद था empowerment, to teach people something, to help shift a perspective कि इस शो को आप देखेंगे या इस कलम को आप पढ़ेंगे तो शायद आपके दिमाग में एक शिफ्ट आ जाएगी और आप एक या तो लोगों को अलग नज़र से देखेंगे या तो एक स्थिति को अलग प्रकार से देखेंगे, and your life can change. राइट, सो आई थिंक दैट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. एंड जैसे कि वो शो जब वेंडल रॉड्रिक्स आए थे, उसके बाद आई कॉल द पुलिस इंस्पेक्टर कमिंग ऑन द सेम शो, सेम sofa set they're sitting there, and I said, Wendell's gay. He said so on my show, arrest him. And Wendell looked really scared. And I said, no, no, arrest Wendell. He said he's gay. And I knew the answer to that, but I need the audience to know the answer to that. And the answer to that was, you cannot just arrest somebody because either you think they're gay or because they say they're gay. You have to catch them in the actual act of unnatural sex. So then the idea is to educate the community out there that if somebody comes and harasses you, no, it has to be under these circumstances only that you could be arrested, because it's a criminal case, criminal offense in those days. Then, of course, it got decriminalized, and to a large extent today destigmatized as well, which is a huge victory. But then my show was always ahead of its times because we always challenging boundaries, challenging norms.
I agree.
And I guess, मैं पली बड़ी भी ऐसी हूँ एक फैमिली में जो कि कंट्रोवर्शियल आप लोग कहते हैं, लेकिन ओपन माइंडेड एंड फ्री हम कहते हैं. एंड I think being the child of the parents that I've been a child of, having lived my life the way I've lived, I think for me it's always been about helping people be bigger than what they think they are, and to help change their lives in ways they could never imagine, and to create a life of their choosing. Because so many of us are stuck in narratives, right? Like, we're born, we go to school, we'll get these grades, we'll get this job, then I'll get married, then I'll get promoted, then I'll have children, then I'll have very linear version of what life should be. And they're stuck. लोग क्या कहेंगे, समाज क्या कहेंगे, ऐसे स्टाइल से ये करना है, वो कर, they're so limited and they're so unhappy. So my point is, if your programming is working for you, great, amazing, stick with it. But if you're unhappy, let's do something about it. Let's change it, because इतनी छोटी सी जिंदगी है, राइट? हम आए हैं इस प्लैनेट पर और हम मर के चले जाएंगे. छोटा सा सफर है लाइफ. All you have to do is time pass, have fun. Incredible planet, people, culture, food, drama, theater, music, art, architecture, literature, people, friendships, relationships. There's so much on this amazing planet. So much. Why are we limiting ourselves to thinking यही है जिंदगी? नहीं, जिंदगी और बहुत कुछ हो सकती है. And I'm here to help you unlock that part of yourself that blocks you from understanding what life is all about.
You have childlike energy, but I want to get back to your childhood. Protima Bedi की daughter, Kabir Bedi की बेटी, माहौल कैसा था childhood में?
Sid, actually, मेरे लिए मेरा childhood बहुत normal था, because that's the only childhood I knew. हाँ, ज़रूर मैं दूसरों को देख के कह सकती थी it's different, क्योंकि दूसरे घर में जाती थी तो मम्मियाँ जो थे पराठे बेल रहे थे, बेटा आलू के पराठे खाओ. This in my house it was very cool. Go help yourself, do what you want, eat, don't eat. मम्मी fuss नहीं करती थी. She was very very independent, and she let us be very independent. वो हमेशा कहती थी कि there's nothing you can't achieve if you put your mind to it, Pooja. And एक ऐसे माहौल में मैं पली बड़ी हूँ जहाँ पर I didn't have many friends my age. I always interacted with my mother, my father, and their friends. And they used to talk about philosophy, world cultures, the artistic world. Whether bade philosophers, Young, Freud, there was Krishnamurti, Osho, उन सब की बातें होती थी. उनके thoughts जो है prevalent थे हमारे घर के अंदर. Artists would always come in. Creativity बहुत थी हमारे घर के अंदर. People would sleep over in the evenings and nights. We had open biryani Sundays where their friends would come, because everyone was a struggling artist at that point of time. Everyone needed some food. So they would all arrive. अपने घर पे biryani, beers were there. So they all arrive and they used to jam together and sit together. So it was a very artistic, happy, open, free childhood that I had. I went to boarding school. I was put into a very strict military boarding school, the Lawrence School, Sanawar. And we had like 100 girls in the dormitory, bed locker, bed locker, bed locker, bed locker, right? We had about 3 baths a week. 2 baths a week were body baths. 1 bath a week was a head bath. 3 minutes for body bath, 5 minutes for a head bath, curtain drawn, bathing out,
माने आपके बेदिंग टाइम को भी टाइम करते थे।
bathing time ko, and the curtain was drawn because वहाँ पे water shortages होते थे. It was Simla,
हाँ।
Himachal Pradesh, so you had to be very judicious about water use and heaters and electricity and everything else, right? So boilers, and so basically, I grew up in a very strict, disciplined boarding school, and I spent the most wonderful years of my life there. हमारा motto था, never give in. And it has really shaped me, Sid, to being the person I am today. That never give in is our motto ka song, anthem jo we used to sing, our school song. It reverberates till date. Alumni बहुत close है till date. I mean, if you see my classmates, and these are people from all walks of life who sent their kids to this very strict boarding school. And you march in squads, to the chapel. You do your chapel prayers. You in lines and files. You file up to the dining hall. You get up in the morning 6 a.m. with a rouser, and you do your physical training on the thing. So it was very charming, and a large hilltop. The entire hilltop is ours. It's close to Kasauli. And so for me, those days shaped me in every way. I was a class topper. I used to sign the book of honor. I was on the basketball team, the hockey team, the debating team, the swimming team, the theater team. I was so interested in everything. I learned batik work. I learned how to do leather work. I learned how to do stitching. I learned cross stitch, chain stitch. These are skill sets you just carry through life. And sports being such an integral part of my childhood, it carried through again to the rest of my life. And today I'm playing pickleball with my kids, for example, and loving every minute of it. So I think those fundamental years that I spent in this very strict, beautiful boarding school shaped a large part of me, my strength, my resilience, my courage, being able to cope with any form of hardship. We used to go for hikes and camps in the most dire situations and circumstances, and sleep in little sleeping bags on hard floors, and literally, I mean, food was like a big thing for us. If we got a biscuit, it was a happy moment. Sugar biscuit or a chocolate. We had 7 rupees pocket money every week. So it was a very charming. And as I said, the alumni of just my batch. Forget the school, Sanjay Dutt and Maneka Gandhi and all from my school, but my batchmates was Omar Abdullah, right, who's the Chief Minister of Kashmir. You have Naveen Munjal, who's Hero Motors, Samir Munjal again. You have Pratap Gaikwad, Prince of Baroda. You have Mel Johnson, who was the Johnson Orchards and now is with India Bulls in one of the highest positions. You had, there were so many people who came from all Ness Wadia. So you had business families, you had royalty, you had politicians, you had celebrities, you had all of that rolled into that. All of us being good little children and being, sort of, I would say, put through the grind every single day. I was a very naughty child, and I would always be in the drill book. कुछ ना कुछ करती रहती थी, ड्रिल बुक में चली जाती. और टीचर्स ये भी नहीं बोल सकते फोकस ऑन योर स्टडीज, बिकॉज आई एम नंबर 1. और क्या करूँ, अभी बोर हो रही हूँ. एंड माई होल थिंग वाज, इफ आई एम डूइंग समथिंग, अगर मैं कुछ कर रही हूँ तो मुझे 100% दे के करना है, वरना नहीं करना है. तो अगर पढ़ाई करना है, आई वांट टू बी द बेस्ट एट इट. If I'm doing sports, I want to do long jump, I want to do high jumps, I want to do hurdles, I want to do basketball, I want to do hockey, I want to experience all of this. I want to do sports in totality, right? So that's just me. And a spirit of adventure तो मेरी मम्मी से आई है. She was highly adventurous as a person, and a rule breaker, and she was somebody who defied convention, क्योंकि वो हमेशा कहती थी कि learn to question. अगर कोई कहे आपसे कि ये करना है, क्यों? नहीं ऐसे ही होना है, क्यों? Learn to question. Don't just take anything blindly. And like, say for example, and ये teachings जो हमें दिए जाते हैं from childhood shape you to being the person you are. Then that same questioning attitude जो मुझे सिखाया गया. For example, जब the COVID crisis happened, right, and everyone was taking the vaccine, I questioned it and I said why, and I did not take the vaccine. And I refused to take the vaccine. And I'm so glad today that I didn't take the vaccine. And today everyone tells me the best thing I've ever done was not taking the vaccine. When you see the fallout of the vaccine, the number of vaccine deaths that are being reported, people dying of myocarditis and heart attacks and strokes and all sorts of things at ridiculously young ages, and today people look at me and say, Pooja, you made the right decision. But us waqt I was trolled. Us waqt I was called anti-vaxxer and, all sorts of things, and social media trolling. It doesn't matter to me. Sticks and stones can break my bones, names will never hurt, right? Makes no difference whatsoever, and I'm like, you're entitled to your life, your body, your choices, my life, my body, my choices, right? And I had a childhood which was very diverse क्योंकि मम्मी और पापा got divorced जब मैं I think 5 साल की थी. तो and they were best friends. So we never felt कि oh पापा चले गए, because there's so much love and so much of warmth between the two of them, and so much respect, and they always spoke well of each other. And I think ये बहुत important learning है. Who was watching this interview, क्योंकि आजकल divorce rates भी बहुत बढ़ते जा रहे हैं, right? And people are like, oh, divorce rates बहुत बढ़ रहे हैं आजकल, like it's a bad thing. And if the marriage is bad, it's good to get divorced. Who says that because you're married, you have to be married forever? It's not a sentence. It's a choice you've made to be married to this person. It's a choice you've made to live your life with this human being. It's a choice that was based on love, trust, togetherness, compatibility, companionship, children, family, all of these parameters. You chose. This is what I want. But if the marriage turns out to be abusive, mean, hostile, neglectful, loveless, sexless, joyless, why should you be in it for the next 50 years of your life? It's okay to make mistakes. We're all human. And it's okay to say, like I did in my case when I got divorced, thank you for 12 beautiful years. You don't have to say, horrible man, ruined my life. No, absolutely not. Thank you. कुछ तो अच्छा था, मैंने उनसे शादी की, अच्छे क्वालिटीज तो होंगे, मैं इतनी स्टूपिड नहीं हूँ कि बैड चॉइसेस करूँ. He's a wonderful person. We had a wonderful relationship. But when things start going south, it's time to try again. But if it's still not working and there is no hope, and you realize that you've come to the end of that road, now you can choose. Would I like to be unhappy for the next 40 years because I've had 12 good years? Or would I like to say, thank you for the 12 good years. Thank you for 2 beautiful children, right? Thank you for the memories. But now maybe our paths are different, our mindsets are different. We've evolved as people. So couples have a choice. You grow together or you grow apart, right? And for me, we had obviously grown apart, and there were various aspects of our relationship that didn't work and were never going to work. And it was a conscious decision by both of us to always be respectful and kind. We have 2 beautiful children, and we are best friends today. I love his current wife, Lila. I've known her since junior KG, right? And I was so thrilled that he was marrying her, because I knew she'd be great with my kids, and my kids adore her, right? So for me, it wasn't like I lost a husband. I gained Lila, I gained Zan, their child, into our family. Our family grew bigger. You have to have an open heart. You have to have a different bent of mind. You don't see anything as competition. You see somebody as more love, someone more to love, someone more to be loved by, right? Who's come into your life. I'm telling you, Siddharth, it's, अपना नजर बदलेंगे, दुनिया बदल जाती
नहीं, but for example, जैसे आप कह रही थी कि you said thank you for those 12
Yes.
beautiful years. But us waqt, Pooja, there must have been a lot of pain, because you've been in a relationship with someone for 12 years. Now you look back and you say, okay, I'm happy about it because we are now all
Right.
amicable. But
Right.
that time, was the thought still the same?
Sid,
There must have been some
Sid,
bitterness at that time.
एक कहावत है, we are not human beings seeking a spiritual journey. We are spiritual beings who've come here to be human. We've come here to be human. Anger, sadness, pain, bitterness, negativity, it's normal. It's normal. It's not a bad thing. It's normal. So is positivity, joy, happiness, radiance, and all of that. That's also normal. लेकिन हम इतना डरते हैं with pain, sadness, I'll be sad. Obviously, you're going to be sad. You're human. If your marriage breaks up, obviously you're going to be sad, and you should. If a parent dies, obviously you should be sad and should pain you. You must experience that part of being human also. Why is there so much resistance to feeling a very normal emotion that you must process as a human being? And you'll go through that too. Happiness doesn't last, sadness doesn't last either, right? But happiness is a choice. You have to make that choice. Happiness is a daily choice. And you have to choose to have a positive outlook to life. Your world regarding it becomes negative. If you see something as a positive, if I see it as, हाय मेरा क्या होगा, मेरे 2 बच्चे हैं, बैगेज है, मेंटालिटी है, मेरी जिंदगी खत्म हो चुकी है, अब मुझसे कौन शादी करेगा, those dramatic sort of things. I could go into that headspace, or I could say, you know what, it's time to end what's not working before we become so bitter that we can't even look at each other anymore. And it's so nice to be able to say thank you, and I want the best for you as my partner, as my husband. I want you to have a wonderful life going ahead and to be happy. And I want the same for myself too, right? Because it's very important to choose happiness, right? And for me today, when I look at Laila and I look at Zan and I see the warmth and the family and the spirit, we have dinners together, we have Christmas together, we sometimes have New Year's together, we, on occasion, we're always meeting at parties, at functions, we go to each other's homes, we dine with each other. It's so warm, it's so wholesome, right? And I'm so glad that we're able to choose that route versus parents, you see, Papa se baat mat karna, they're trying to use their children as pawns, to torture the other parent. How sad for the child. How sad for you that you're so tormented. How sad for the fact that your families are torn apart. For what? It's okay. Move on, move forward. Be graceful, be gracious, right? The idea is to process it, get the doing over with so you can move on to becoming the best version of yourself, make the relationship the best version. When I was a wife, I said I want to be the 100% perfect good wife. When I was a divorcee, I said I want to be the 100% perfect divorcee, right? I want to be the best at being a divorcee, right? And again, that's a choice, right? And I think your state of mind बहुत important है. And every day, if you, that muscle of positivity, वो एक muscle है, muscle of happiness, the muscle of positivity. अगर आप वो muscle को बार-बार use करेंगे तो मजबूत हो जाता है.
You raised Alia
Yes.
and your son
Yes.
As a single mom?
Yes. From the time Alia was 5 years old, that's around the time that we got divorced. I've pretty much single-handedly raised them. Farhan was a wonderful father, obviously. He loves his children. That goes without saying. And I think on the weekends, they would go and they would spend time with him on the weekends, which was great. The school time, their school groups, their mothers' groups, the concert costumes, the tuitions, and, all of that daily care that fell upon the mother, obviously, because that's what mothers are great at doing and feel best at, putting forward for their kids. And again, that's a choice. Farhan asked me one day, he said, why would you take the kids? Why can't I take the kids? And I said, I thought about it. And I said, interesting you asked that. So Farhan, if you can be a stay-at-home dad, will spend a lot of time at home with the kids and actually take care of them, like eat meals with them and entertain them and have fun with them and look into their tuitions in their school and their parent groups and this and that and everything and be this person, we can discuss it. But if you're going to go out to work, and he's working really hard at that time, if you're going to go to work and leave the kids either with a nanny or with the grandparents, then that's not fair. Then that's depriving a parent of the joy of being a parent, right? And just putting them onto a grandparent or stuff. So I'm open to talking about it. And he thought about it. He said, no, you're right. I know you'll be a great mom and you'll be hands-on with the kids. And let's keep it at that. And I mean, they've always had full access to him and, it's his father.
So your children didn't actually miss a father figure?
Alia's given many interviews where she says one day one of her friends, their parents were getting divorced. And one day she told Alia, I was very upset because you really weren't supportive of the fact that my parents were going through a divorce and really there for me. And Alia was so confused because she says, I never saw divorce as a bad thing or a painful thing, because she grew up with seeing divorce as something so beautiful and organic and happy, and father was happy, mother was happy. We met, we talked, we chatted, we had, dinners together, once we went on a holiday together also, Laila came into their lives and it was just so respectful and so happy, right? So she never saw divorce as a bad thing. She saw it as something that happens when two people don't get along and they part ways. But mother is always a mother, father is always a father. Our family got bigger. So, and it's interesting because, again, the way you're brought up shapes your understanding of a situation. Either you can see something as bad, or you can see something as normal, or you can see something as positive. The choice is always yours. आप किस lens से अपनी life को देखते हैं, अपनी reality को देखते हैं. If you see it as a negative, you'll always feel like a victim, right? If you see it as a positive, you feel empowered because you have better choices to make for yourself in life.
In fact, I want to go back to your childhood again. Your parents obviously were ahead of their times, right? Your mom did a lot of things which were far ahead of her times.
Yep.
In fact, your dad sat in the safe sofa and spoke to me about how they had an open relationship. Mm-hmm. Were you judged being their daughter at that time when two people who were your parents were openly talking about open relationships?
I don't think they talked openly about an open relationship at that point of time, but and film stars always under scrutiny. I mean, the gossip columns
Yeah.
in the magazines are filled with all sorts of things which are beyond what is true
Then
beyond,
and now.
beyond what is even false. Today, at least, मौका मिलता है,
To
clarify
clarify.
करने के लिए on social media. वहाँ पर articles आते थे, 5 page articles in film magazines, और फिर अगर हमने गुस्सा होकर अगर हमने उनको clarification दी, तो अगले magazine में छोटा सा clarification आ जाता था.
3-liner in the bottom right hand corner.
Literally, and so I mean it was today at least एक जमाना है जहाँ पे हम खुल खुल के बातें कर सकते हैं, एक्सप्रेस कर सकते हैं, क्लैरिफाई कर सकते हैं, काउंटर कर सकते हैं, तो वो जमाना अलग था. So I remember there was this time when my mother had streaked naked on the beach, right? And I, as a symbol of oppression of society and freedom and liberation and rights and our bodies being ours to choose and our lives being our decisions to make and all of that. And I remember I went to school and my friend said, "My mummy said your mummy is very shocking." I said, "Really?" So I was small. I must have been like 8 years old or something. So I went back and I my mother said, "Mama, why are you shocking?" So she says, "Huh?" I said, "No, you're very shocking. Why are you shocking?" She says, "Where's this coming from? Dal, can you explain what shocking is to me?" I said, "No, my friend said, her mummy said you're very shocking. So why are you so shocking?" So she said, "All right, let's discuss the word shocking." She says, "A woman in Saudi Arabia, right, who isn't allowed to show a little tiny sliver of her wrist, is whipped for showing even that much. Looks at a traditional Indian parda clad woman who's cooking on the stove and showing some part of her arm and says, 'Shocking, she's showing her arm.' Right? The parda woman says, 'Excuse me, I have my face covered. Shocking is the girl who's uncovered her face. Where are her values? Where is the morality?' The girl who's uncovered her face says, 'At least I'm wearing traditional clothes.' I'm not shocking. Shocking are those girls who are wearing jeans and pants and, showing the shape of their entire body. That's so shocking." Says the girl who's wearing jean pants says, "Hello, I'm fully covered from head to toe." Shocking are the girls who are wearing those mini skirts and roaming around. Tange dikha rahi hai, cleavage dikha rahi hai, ye kar rahi hai, wo kar. That's very shocking. The girl who's wearing a mini skirt says, "What's so shocking about me? Everything is fine. This is cool. This is normal." Shocking are the girls in tiny little bikinis, barely covering their private parts, roaming around on the beach. That is shocking. पूरा कुछ भी दिखा रही, बस private parts को ही hide किया है. The girl wearing a bikini says, "Hello, at least I'm hiding my private parts. What's shocking about that?" Shocking is Protima Bedi, who streaked on the beach without any clothes. She says, "Now it's come a full circle back to me. Ask me, darling, what I think is shocking." I said, "What do you think is shocking?" She says, "I think the woman in Saudi Arabia who's flogged for showing this much of her wrist, I think that is shocking." She said, "We can all go in loops and circles, passing judgments, criticizing, finding faults, making assumptions. It's always perspective and it's always subjective." So before pointing a finger, the old quote na, jab aap ek finger ko point karte ho, 3 fingers are pointing back at you, right? So this, in the same way, I think it's very important to understand that judgment is just judgment, right? Your understanding of somebody is your understanding of somebody. मैं बहुत सारे talks करती हूँ for Ficky Flow, Y Flow, EO, okay, on motivational speaking, etc. And after my courses, women come up to me and say, "Ma'am, आप इतने अलग हो, हमने सोचा या तो दिल से celebrities dumb होते हैं, या तो दिल से हमने सोचा कि आप सिर्फ glamorous हो, या आप we thought this, we thought that, or we saw you as this, we saw you as that, लेकिन आप you're so different, ma'am." And I say, does it bother you कि लोग आपको इस perspective, limited perspective से देखते हैं? And I started laughing and I said, I feel like the story of the blind man and the elephant. One touches the trunk of the elephant and says it's a snake. One touches the tail of the elephant and says it's a rope. One touches the leg of the elephant and says it's a tree trunk. One touches the side of the elephant and says, "Ye to diwar hai." Okay, diwar hai. So, what is it? Hai to elephant. You are seeing of it what you want to see of it, and you're right from your perspective because you're blind and you think it's this and that's your reality. लेकिन अगर आप totality में zoom back करके देखो, it is an elephant. So perspectives are always limited, right? And they're welcome to it. It doesn't change the fact that the elephant is an elephant. If somebody calls it a rope or calls it a snake or calls it a tree trunk, it'll not stop being an elephant. It'll always be the elephant. I'm the elephant. You can see what you want of me. You can judge me for the angle you want to judge of me. You can create your own ideas of what I'm about. How does it change who I am? I am me and I love being me, and I don't want to change that for anything in the world. And the day I decide I've outgrown something, I want to change something in my life, I'll change it because I have the ability to change it. I have the choice to change it. I have the freedom to make that choice. And that's me. And I'm so happy being me.
When your dad came here, he told me this statement. He says, when we were in an open relationship, it actually started affecting both of us because we couldn't accept it. We thought we will be able to do that, have different partners. But he said, later on, we realized we can't do this.
But everyone's different. Again, some people say we really wanted to be in a marriage, then we decided we can't do this. Some people say we wanted to be in an open relationship, then we decided we can't do this. Some people say we got into an engagement and we decided we can't do this. So my point is, what we define something as is just an experience that we choose to go into. Whether it's an engagement, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a marriage.
Were you affected by all this?
I was 5 years old. What would I know?
No, later on when you comprehended all this?
It's their job. It's their bodies. It's their life. It's their choices. And they're entitled. Who am I to sit in judgment of what they're doing? Who am I to sit and say this is right and this is wrong and you must live your life by my terms or my understanding of life or my understanding of relationships?
So you were very evolved at a very early age.
Not evolved, just non-judgmental, I would say. I'm not here to tell other people how to live their lives or to, I'm here to guide them on a path to happiness. So if you tell me something's bothering you, right, I'm here to help you. But if everything's going great and you're happy, who am I to try and shake your...
How was your relationship with your father?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. I love Daddy. I've always looked up to him, not because he's a tall man, but because he's the most amazing man. He is somebody who has never yelled at me his whole life. He's never raised his voice, ever. I've never said, Pooja, don't do this. Not once. If he's angry or upset or concerned or any of that, he will say, darling, we need to talk. And you're like, oops, what do we need to talk about? He's a gentle giant. He's a wonderful man. He's kind. He's evolved. He's well-spoken. He's extremely well-mannered, well-traveled emotionally, well-traveled mentally, well-traveled physically. And I grew up in a very interesting world between both parents क्योंकि मेरी माँ जो थी classical dancer थी, पापा जो थे international film star थे, and classical dancers को एक certain lifestyle मिलता था जो कि है second class travel by train back in those days, staying in guest houses in the little towns or places that they went to perform. And this is true for all the big artists today, who are all these young upcoming classical musicians and dancers and all of that. And today they're given a lot of respect and a lot of money, but back then that was not the case. Right. So I grew up with that with my mom, and also when her Nityagram started, she had 10 acres of barren land and one tent in the middle of this with snakes on her bed and no lock, no nothing, dacoits, no electricity, no roads. And she started this dream project of her Nityagram, sitting on the mud floors with villagers, eating chapati and dal and being very happy with that space. Me with my sanas school, hikes and camps and treks and hardships of that nature and that kind. I've learned to straddle that life and be so happy sitting on the floor eating a chapati and dal with local people and enjoying that thoroughly, and also being able to go to Beverly Hills, experience the most gourmet restaurants and 7-star hotels and be equally happy with all of that. There's no better or worse. They're experiences. Right? And it's not, I only do this, or I will only wear a bag like this, and flaunt a label of some kind. No, I'm as happy going Rasta shopping as I am to walk into a designer store and pick up a designer bag. Both of them make me happy. It's something I like to do, right? If I find something attractive, I will pick it up, right? So, So I think what I've learned largely from my parents is the adaptability to life. To learn to blend this world and that world effortlessly, to understand the needs, the dynamics, the mindsets of this life, the needs, the dynamics, the mindsets of that life, right? And pick and choosing for myself what I felt worked for me, right? And making that my life.
Your father obviously had quite a few relationships. He was married 3 times. Your relationship with,
This is his fourth marriage.
yes, it is his fourth
Yes.
marriage. So he was married 3 times. How was your relationship with his other wives?
So, Ishel, Susan at that point of time was her name, and she was my stepmom number one. And I remember Mama coming to me saying, darling, Papa's so alone in America and he's so lonely, and there's nobody there to, cook for him or care for him and, be there for him and look into his needs. And, so we were very young. I must have been about 9 years old or something like that. So I was like, oh, let's get him a staff member. So she's like, no, what about love and what about companionship? And I think we should tell him to get a wife. And she knew he was getting married, but she had to break it to us, right? So she says, I think we should tell him that he must get married. I think it's high time. Let's call him up and let's tell him that. So we picked up the phone. Papa, we've decided you need to get married, And, for Papa who's trying to wonder how to break it to us, to have us now dictate to him that he must find a woman and he must now get married officially, was so sweet. It's such a nice way to look at things. Like you're telling your father this is what he needs in his life. You're 9 years old. And she was amazing. She's loving and warm and kind. And then we had Adam, my stepbrother. I hate calling him stepbrother. It's a horrible way to, it has a connotation. He's my brother. Okay. Was a little bundle of joy with his bright blue eyes and his sweet nature, and he's like full of beans and an utter sweetheart, right? And so that was, again, I think almost 12 years of marriage there. So growing up with Ishel, and she was into aromatherapy and spirituality and put the moon water on the terrace and, that sort of put the crystals out. And she was very fascinating and very warm, very, very warm. And we're great, we have a great rapport even today. We're always in touch, even on WhatsApp and on, Instagram and things like that. And till date, we have the most wonderful relationship. In fact, a couple of years ago, when I went to America, I went and I took 3 days out to go stay with her and spend time with her. And because it's family, right? It's family, and you want to treasure them while they're on this planet, and you want to have more memories while you're on the planet. So wife number two, Nikki, right? Nikki was much younger than Ishel, obviously. She was 4 years elder to me, I think. And again, what energy and wit and care, right? She had the right kind of music, and she knew her brain was super sharp, and she was full of fun and incredible energy. She also had a talk show.
Of course.
She was
On Channel V, I think.
Nikki Tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
She got in quite a situation there, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's again mindsets, petty mindset. Usne ye bola, usne ye bola. Listen, it doesn't work for you. Tune out. Don't watch the show. Anyway, whatever. So again, a barrel of fun, great energy, brought so much into our lives in every possible way. She was very much there at the time that Alia was being born in America, because my brother had died, committed suicide at that point of time. So we were in America, and she was really taking care of us. The whole family had flown down for my brother's suicide, and I was pregnant at that time with Alia, and they said, Pooja, stay on. You're not in any condition to travel back to India. So I stayed on, and Alia was born. But the kind of care she took, the kind of love, the kind of evenings that we've all shared for years, being with Nikki, in our life. Very special, very, very special, very special human being. Again, in touch till today. A couple of weeks ago, we were messaging about something and laughing about something, and yeah, she's wonderful. Yeah.
You lost your brother, right? You were very close to him. Were you?
Well, let's just say we were inseparable. We had the same bedroom. We shared the same toothbrush sometimes. We had the same friends. We had the same food. We went to the same boarding school. I was very, very close to Siddharth, obviously. He was 2 years younger than me, 1.5 years younger. And, the most gentle, kind, and super intelligent human being. He graduated with honors on the dean's list from Carnegie Mellon, in the United States. Super into technology and computers, and an incredible human being. I mean, he had schizophrenia, was diagnosed schizophrenic, and later committed suicide. But you know, it's such an integral part of my life. And that again made me think a lot about the concepts of mental wellness, the prevalence of mental wellness, because back then people didn't talk much about mental wellness and mental health issues. It was very stigmatized. And if anyone was going through a problem in their family, people just hide it under the carpet and lock up those people in rooms and prevent them from meeting other people. And I think us being so open about what had happened to Siddharth helped a lot of people come forward and reach out and start engaging these discussions about mental wellness, mental health, and to see what we could do to make things better rather than stigmatize it or to push it under a carpet, right? And today, of course, mental wellness is such a big issue today, given the impact of social media on our lives, the amount of scrolling, the amount of comparisons, the kind of world that you think other people are leading versus what the actual reality is, comparisons to your own life, the pressures of work, the pressures of being disconnected from humanity because you're so into in a world that filled with technology. So I think it's great that we're having more and more conversations about mental wellness. There's more outreach, there's more support, there's more community support, there's more family support, and that people are able to do something about it in a constructive, positive manner. I have so many friends who have bipolar husbands, and understanding what it is the first part of it. Then how to deal with it is the secondary part, right? How to prepare family for what the outcome will be of that for them and how to handle that better, right? That is also a very crucial, important part, because the person who's suffering is suffering, but the people around him are suffering more because A, they love you, and B, it's impacting their lives in every possible way. So I think it's very important to diagnose it accurately, and then to help with families understanding the outcomes, repercussions, and handling of it, and then how to actually help heal the whole situation in different ways. I'm into holistic wellness, so we know that there are many ways to channel that and to work with that uh, to great effect.
So when Siddharth had schizophrenia, how were you dealing with that?
He was in America, I was in India, and I was going through my own stuff in India with being married and having a life here and being perfect wife and playing the great friend and great homemaker and mother. No, sorry. What am I saying? Alia wasn't born at that time. I was pregnant with Alia at that time. So, Sid, I was just really busy at that point in India, and he was in America. And also, he wasn't diagnosed accurately initially. This first said it was depression, then they said it was manic depression, then they said it was something else, then they said it was bipolarity, then they finally came to the conclusion it was schizophrenia. Along the way, he'd had trips in India where I was talking to him and, sort of trying to figure out with him what was going on, etc. But I was really busy being a wife, very busy being a great homemaker, being a friend, setting up my life here in India in a certain manner, doing those things. I was pregnant with Alia when Siddharth passed away. And again, that was a huge shock, So, Papa was there in America with Siddharth. So it was very tough for Papa because he literally walked into the room and saw it, like, visually. For a father to walk in and see your son dead, is the most horrific thing I can ever think of. And Adam, who followed behind and also saw his brother like that. I cannot imagine what actually went through them at that point of time, or what they must have actually, the horror, the emotional repercussions of that, and how they processed it. But yeah, they're trying to calm me down. And to me, the whole thing was, I have to keep very calm because I have a child in my stomach, and I don't want that trauma translated either into a miscarriage or to impact my child in any way. I kept myself really calm, very positive. I didn't break down. I just kept myself very, very calm because I knew that I had my own journey. His journey had ended. And much as I loved him, missed him, wished he'd never done something like that. He wrote such a sweet message for me in a suicide note. He's saying, "Boy, good luck with the baby," and huska, 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 which is a funny thing that he and me used to do. He wrote a letter to my mom saying, "Mom, I love you the most," and just so sweet, and so unnecessary. But it was a journey that he decided to take and embark upon, and those are his choices. Do I wish he'd done things differently? Of course. Do I wish he'd been here today? Of course.
You use the word perfect wife. Why were you trying to be perfect?
Why not? I mean, if you
Because you
hang on, I need tissue. Siddharth conversation still going on in my head. Thank you. Thank you. Tissue, not a good thing.
okay.
Okay. You're also crying.
So why were you trying to be the perfect wife?
Why not? At the end of the day, it's a challenge. I love challenges. And as I said, agar main kuch karti hu, to I want to be the best at whatever I choose to do. And it's a role that you have to play, right? Ek role hota hai. And I wanted to be the best at it. So, and it's a journey I chose, right? I chose to be a wife. I chose to be married. I chose to be in that situation. And for me, it was the way my life must play out. Also, I think in a certain level, I wanted to let my parents see that I can do this well. I can get it right. You all didn't get it right. I can get it right.
So you said I was being the perfect wife.
Yeah.
Was it difficult being the perfect wife?
Well, let's just put it this way, Sid. People ask me why perfect wife. I'd say why not, right? Firstly, because it's a role that I chose to take on, right? I chose to be a wife. I chose to be married to somebody, and whatever were the obligations of being in that role, I wanted to fulfill it to its best. Because, like you play a role in a film or you play a role in a relationship, it's still playing a role, right? It's the role of the wife. The human being will keep evolving, changing. Dynamics work differently, and you have your own growth processes. He has his own growth processes, and that's different. So, I want to do justice to that role, and I believe I did a very good job, and I believe that I was very successful in what I wanted to achieve in that relationship, and I ticked all my boxes, and it worked very well for me. I loved being married. I loved being married. I loved being a mother. I loved being a family. I loved all of that. Yeah, it was very difficult when you come to the realization that it's not working, and that this castle in the air that you built, or this beautiful life that you've got for yourself, which is so wonderful in so many ways, right? Is so fragile, and there are so many underlying problems and layers that need to be addressed. And when the happiness quotient becomes almost negligible at a certain point, and you want to blame somebody for it, which is normal, but at the end of the day, what do you get out of blaming anybody, right? I mean, suppose I say you're a bad person. Are you a bad person? No, because somebody else might think you're wonderful. Somebody else may think you're a hero. Somebody else may think you're the most incredible brother, or the most incredible son, or the most incredible friend, or the most incredible boss, or the most incredible human being, right? But for me, you're a terrible person. The person isn't bad. My relationship with the person is bad. Because somebody else sees that person through very.
When your father was going through these breakups and marriages, would he confide in you? Would he tell you what he was going through?
From time to time, just a little bit, glimpses here and there. I saw my mother much more closely going through tumultuous times. From my father's side, actually, there were a lot more basic announcements that it was entering something or exiting something, or that there was a new person being introduced into our lives, and either we saw them leave or we saw it finally going to fruition to a marriage state. They were very open about their relationships, which is great, because they never hid girlfriends or boyfriends from us. They never hid that part of their lives. They were because they never saw it as a bad thing, right? If somebody comes to your life as a companion, it's a good thing, as long as there's respect between parents and children, and the opposite person is respectful to your children. It's a wonderful space to be in, right? So I think it's very important to thank them, my parents, for opening my heart and my mind to possibilities in the future, without it being stigmatized or saying it's a bad thing or a negative thing or an immoral thing, because it's not. we're human beings. Marriage, being in one person for the whole life is more a religious construct or a social construct, right? Humans are humans. You love someone, and then one day you don't love someone. You've grown, or that person's grown, and you don't connect anymore with that human being. Now, who says because you signed a piece of paper that now you're morally, legally, religiously bound to being with this person you have nothing in common with for the rest of your life? Because you signed a piece of paper. Like right now, I'm engaged, right? I'm engaged to a wonderful man called Manik. We've been engaged for 7 years, right? And everyone says, so Pooja, when are you getting married? That's the first question. So when are you guys getting married? Engaged for 7 years? Why? And I said, we're going to be engaged for the rest of our lives. We're never getting married. And they're like, but why? And I'm like, okay, couple of reasons. One is, when a person puts a ring on your finger and says, I want to spend the rest of my life with you, that is the commitment. That is a man telling you he wants to spend the rest of his life with you. The commitment is made, right? After that, it's just paperwork. And then with the paper comes the government. So basically, I'm getting the government involved in my love life. Because now, tomorrow, if I'm miserable or he's miserable, we have to go through an entire government process to get out of it. If he's not happy, he should be able to leave. If I'm not happy, I should be able to leave, right? Why should we be trapped in something because of a governmental process? It makes no sense whatsoever to me. Also, I've been there, done that. I've had my marriage. I've had my kids. He's been married. He's had his kids, right? We've been through that journey. We don't intend to have any more kids, okay? I'm 55. I'm done and dusted, okay, with that whole space in my life. No more, okay? And so to me, it's about enjoying the time we have together, and automatically you work harder at the relationship because that person always has a chance and the choice to say goodbye.
You also said that you saw your mom go through the tough situations more
Absolutely.
closely, right?
Very closely. I mean, if you read her book, Time Pass,
Yeah.
right? My mother's book, Time Pass, is, people who read it say that they feel they've been slapped on their face because it's a brutally honest book. It's a book where hasn't painted herself like any fairy or some great angel. It's a very stark book of her life, her emotions, her relationships, where she's talked about herself as who she was at that point of time, making the decision she made for herself, right, wrong, good, bad, whatever judgment you want to sit in on that, your decisions. But this is my life, this is my story, and it must be told, right? And a lot of people have been so inspired by her journey, her brutal honesty, because a lot of people fake relationships. A lot of people say everything's great, but it's not. A lot of people say, oh, I'm very happy, but they're not. Right? A lot of people don't want to talk about abuse or brutality or rape or broken hearts or messy relationships. Right? They don't want to talk about it. It's almost like not talking about it makes it go away. It doesn't. It lies suppressed in your subconscious mind. My mother was brutally honest about her life, from the time she got raped at a very young age to her entire journey going forward, to the kind of relationship she's had, the marriage, the open marriage, the men in her life that came post that, all kinds of situations that she encountered, A, as a mother, B, as a single mother, as a wife, as a girlfriend, as a mistress, as all of that. She's discussed every aspect in brutal honesty. And I had a guy come up to me the other day and tell me, that he was on the brink of suicide, and he read my mother's book, and he's saying, I read her book, and he's saying it just hit me. And I said, my God, if a woman with this life story can find purpose, meaning, and direction in life, so can I. And he's a filmmaker. And he's like, I want to make a film on your mother's book because it is the most incredible book I've ever read. What a life. And it is. What a life, And we grew up watching her in every shade, every avatar. We watched her broken moments. We watched her having no money and struggling, screaming at us for wasting tomato ketchup, because at the end of the day that was expensive. We didn't have a TV till my late teens in the home. She was very careful with her money, yet she made sure we had everything that we ever required in life. So she was this most incredible human being, larger than life in every way. I remember once she'd come from a show and they'd given her cash money or something like that, and all like 50 rupee notes, 100 rupee notes. She was so excited. She came home, she put this thing on the bed, and she said, "I got money." We said, "Mama got money," and we were very small. And she took the thing and she's throwing all these notes up in the air, and all these notes are scattering everywhere. She's going, "Money, money, money." She's so happy to have money, and it was so sweet. And so we grew up with little joys and learned to appreciate everything that came our way and to not take anything for granted. So many people have so much money and they're so sad, and some people have nothing and they're so happy, and also vice versa. And this whole concept of money doesn't buy happiness. Bullshit. Of course, money buys happiness. Why do we glamorize that? Oh, money can't buy happiness. And what buys you happiness? You went for a holiday. You had great fun. It bought you happiness. You bought a lovely car. Didn't it bring you happiness? You bought a lovely home. You have a roof over your head that belongs to you. You're not paying rent anymore. Happy? Of course you're happy. You found somebody you love. Of course you're happy. You bought a lovely outfit. You wore it. You looked glamorous. People complimented you. Of course you're happy, right? But that happiness doesn't last. So what happiness lasts? Right? Your child's smile makes you happy. Then why are you sad today? It should have lasted you your whole lifetime. Your child smiled. Your child is still smiling. Come on, be happy. No, because everything is transient. It could be the smile of your child, or it could be money in the bank. Fact is, everything brings you happiness, and money can bring you many moments of happiness. So why do we negate that? Why are we trying to be superior, like spiritual, and no, these things can't buy you happiness, can't bring you happiness? Of course it does. Happiness doesn't last on any level. Neither does sadness, and neither does pain. Enjoy the journey. It's as simple as that.
Did you end up meeting Parveen Babi through your dad?
Yeah.
You did?
I actually ended up meeting Parveen Babi as a child, obviously, because we used to go to her home. She was very close by, so as kids we used to walk across and spend time there in a hall, and it seemed very lovely, very warm, and everything else. And then they broke up, and I remember many, many years later, she'd come back to India, and everyone was talking about something's wrong with her, something's wrong with her. And I went along with Johnny Bakshi to meet her, and went to her home and knocked on the door, and she opened the door, and she looked so different. She'd put on a lot of weight, and she had this wild hair, and she was so excited to see me. Pooja, hi, come in. And she gave me a big hug and everything, and we were sitting and chatting, and everything was so normal, so normal. And suddenly something happened. We talked about something. She said, "I can't offer you any food because I only eat eggs." So I said, "Why do you eat only eggs?" She said, "Because the one thing they can't tamper with." I said, "Who?" They can't tamper with it. I said, who can't tamper with it? She says, "The Secret Service, the FBI, the CIA, something. And Johnny and me looking at each other, and she says, "I can't buy makeup from the supermarkets also because they contaminate my makeup." And I said, "But how do they know which specific dabba of that particular brand are you going to pick up from the shelf at that point of time that you've decided to go makeup shopping today?" And she's like, "They know everything." And I just looked at Johnny, and I suddenly got like, there's something seriously wrong happening here. And I just so concerned at that point of time, and so worried and so confused, as to what was going on with her at that point of time. So it was, it's a huge shock, because you've seen someone in childhood a certain way, and then you meet them so many years later in a different way, and it's and then she's picking on this one person who's a superstar, and she's picking on him and saying that he was responsible for all of it. And so it was just so sad to see life transition in that manner. And it can be everybody's story, and that's why it's so important to have good support systems around you. It's good to have people who understand, people who are there by your side, who help you along the way.
Now, your career.
Oh God!
First film, Vish Kanya.
Oh God. Do we have to talk about it?
But tell me.
Because you know what? People might just go see the film and then they'll start unfollowing me.
Tell me, what do you think about Vish Kanya when you watch it now, or the last time you saw it?
Forget when I watch it. when Jack told me the story, Jagmohan Mundra, when he told me the story, I laughed so much and I said, "Are you nuts? I'll never do this film. It's going to be the biggest flop in the world. It's the most stupid story I've ever heard in my life." Okay, and I decided to do Wish Kanya because I was studying in America at that point of time, and I really missed home, and I wanted to come back home, and I missed the ethos. I missed the dynamic qualities that my circle had in India, that the conversations we had in India was very different being in high school, a whole different dynamic, which I just felt very disconnected from. This was my ticket back home, basically. And I decided that I was going to tell my parents I was entering Bollywood, and they were aghast and they couldn't believe I was making that choice. They were very upset. And I just wanted to get back. And I was actually primed to go onto Wall Street. My whole ambition in life was to be part of the movers and shakers of the financial world. I was number one in my school, and I was this and I was that. And this is where I was heading. I was getting all my wonderful grades in America. And I was just like, I'm going to be part of the movers and shakers of the financial world. That's me. Cut to, I'm in Bollywood. I've signed this film, I've come back. Mama's decided she's going off to create Nityagram, her dance village. I'm all alone at home. I have the whole house to run, bills to pay, terrified. I'm like 17 something years old, and damn scared because I have a cook to pay. I have a dog who needs keema. I have society dues to pay. I have my own little needs which require money. And I just started signing everything that came my way. It wasn't just a one film thing for me anymore. Suddenly I signed Jo Jeeta Wohi Sikandar. I signed ad campaigns like Tips and Toes, Fruity, Kamasutra, and I started doing all these brands just to bring in the money so that I could run my house.
So I want to ask you before.
Yes. I started earning my living at the age of 17 something. And I've been on my feet and self-sufficient ever since. So all these people who are watching this, oh, y'all are born with silver spoons in your mouth and all this stuff. No, I travel second class train with my mother. I've eaten on floors with villagers. I'm shouted at for wasting tomato ketchup. We got 7 rupees pocket money a week at boarding school. I've earned my own way from the time I was 17 and a half. No silver spoon, self-made. Thank you very much.
So how are you getting these offers then? Because they knew there was this really gorgeous looking girl, you existing.
I think I was just a media tiger. I think I came in and they started taking interviews of mine, and I started saying bold things for Indian standards. They used to do these interviews with me where they would ask me questions, and especially about relationships, because I was very open about my relationships. And those days, every heroine wanted to be virginal, and they didn't even have a boyfriend, and it was a very different mindset back in those days in films. Heroines were scared to say that they wear bikinis or shorts. And I remember leading heroine had refused to wear shorts in Shekhar Kapoor's film Champion, because shorts will be required to be running all those races and everything else. So, it was a whole different mindset. And I was the sexy girl. I was cast as this sex symbol of India. I was winning all these contests and polls. Who's the sexiest woman in India? Society magazine cover, movie magazine cover, all the polls are being done. So I became the sexy girl. I said, might as well play the role. Right, got to do it, played 100%.
But were you actually like that in person also?
I'm the elephant. I'm also this. I'm also this. I'm also this. I'm also this. I'm many things.
So
right?
that one shade you said is getting highlighted. Why not?
This is required for this part of this journey, right? So this is my professional journey that's projecting me in this way. So I will be that person in my professional life. I need to be this, right? So let me be this to its full extent. So I wore the clothes accordingly. I networked differently. I projected myself differently in my interviews. When they asked me about sexuality or virginity, and things like that.
What did he say?
And morality. Oh, I would say things like sex is nothing. Virginity is nothing but a big issue over a small tissue. And and my God, those would become headlines and stuff like that. And because premarital sex was taboo back then, you did not have premarital sex, and I played the part, and I got the accolades, and I then did the Kamasutra campaign.
Opposite Mark.
With Mark Robinson, such a sweetheart. It was such a fun campaign to shoot. We had such a great time, and incredible memories. And of course, his girlfriend Colleen was on the sets with us, making sure.
Really, kya?
Colleen had we were shooting in Goa, so Colleen had flown to Goa. So it was very sweet.
So she was there to see, don't cross the line. Yeah?
Not cross the line, but it was just, you're young, you just want to make sure that your man is safe. Never know what femme fatale Pooja does. I don't know.
But when you were doing the Kamasutra ad,
Hmm.
was there, I'm sure there must have been a uproar outside.
In
Was-
society?
Yeah.
Yes, of course. I mean, oh my God, you're talking about sex and a sexually, in a country that doesn't talk about sex, so despite having billions of people as their population, you're in a country that just has a different mindset when it comes to talking about sex. And yet at the same time, porn is the most Googled. You have, people having dysfunctional lives, dysfunctional relationships, extramarital affairs, in the lower sex society. I mean, I saw so many of my staff members having two wives, wives coming to work screaming about their husband's abuse and infidelities and all sorts of things. And even in every echelon of society, for that matter, these situations would occur. And you look and say, my God, why are people just not talking openly about issues, right? And sex forms a very integral part of a relationship, of your life. It's because of a lack of it that people are going out. It's because your sex life isn't good that people are frustrated and depressed, right? How many women in India actually experience an orgasm set? The numbers are startling. Almost, I think, 2% of women experience orgasms and 98% of women say they've never had an orgasm in their life.
And they don't even express to their partner.
They don't dare express it to their partner. My God, can you imagine the immoral tag that will come on a woman who says, by the way, you have an orgasm every time we have sex, but I haven't had one orgasm in the last 20 years of my life, right? Can you imagine what the husband will think? But chill and order, what are you demanding? Also the man's ego comes into the picture and all of that. So you're called, there's no regard for a woman's sexual needs, right? And I think just speaking about sex and making sex a topic you could discuss became the primary focus of me doing that campaign. Also to talk about sexually transmitted diseases, how condoms are really important to prevent unwanted pregnancies. HIV was a very big thing back in those days, hitting headlines all the time. So talking about how it's going to help prevent AIDS, the spread of AIDS. So all these things are very, very important to me to discuss and to talk about. And of course, me talking about sex was like epic because Pooja Bedi, actor, is doing a condom campaign and openly discussing sex, sexual issues, sexual topics. Oh my God. The British tabloids wrote the beginning of the sexual revolution in India.
For you?
For the whole thing, the Kamasutra campaign, and me energizing the whole campaign by not just modeling for it, but literally being a brand ambassador to the concept of let's talk about sex, right? Even till today, I want to do a talk show called Let's Talk About Sex, right? Openly and discuss all different aspects of sex and sexuality, but no one wants to do it. I'm like, I want to do this talk show. It's still such an important discussion
was
to
the
have today.
Indian film industry, the Hindi film industry, looking at it saying, oh my God, or
Sexy girl. They loved it because it
you were
protected...
termed as the bad girl also, were you?
Huh?
Were you termed as the bad girl also?
Always. Anything sexy is bad automatically. You always the heroine and then there's a vamp, right? It's never heroine and a sexy heroine, which is there today. Today you can have heroine and sexy heroine, But back then you were the heroine or you were the vamp. There was the word vamp, okay? And you had to be that because you were sexy, right? And, make me vamp.
How would the other actresses react to you? I'm very curious because they always had a set formula being...
Well, I wasn't threatening to the heroines because at the end of the day, they had competition within their bracket of being called heroines. I was the sexy girl. So I was there. There was me, Sonam, Kimi Katkar, all of us being the sexy girls and happy to play the sexy girl. And I played it on screen, off screen, and the thing is, I'm very comfortable in a bikini. So it's not that I'm putting on a bikini and I'm comfortable in it. I grew up wearing bikinis. So to me, wearing a bikini, hanging on a holiday in poolside was very normal. People saw me and said, oh, Pooja Bedi, sex symbol, oh, bikini, hot, hot, hot. So we always grew up. It wasn't new to me to wear mini skirts. It wasn't new to me to wear plunging necklines. It was just the way I've grown up. It's just okay to be that. Right now, you look at it and say, leg of the elephant. It's a tree trunk. So, oh, sex symbol. So be it. So be it.
Vish Kanya was a flop? Or
big flop.
But I remember all your hot scenes and all that.
So my daughter Alia saw my film Wish Kanya a couple of years ago, and she says, "Mama, I saw Wish Kanya." And I went, "Oh my God." And she says, "Okay, we won't talk about the film. We won't talk about how terrible the acting was. We won't talk about any of that. What a hot body you had, Mama." She says, "And that hot body is buried under the layers of fat today. Get rid of it. Where is that hot body, Mom?" So yeah. And, today, the other day, I'd gone for this event and somebody said, "Ma'am, are you going to come back on the big screen?" And I said, "Did you see my acting?" Okay. And they all looked at me and said, "How?" I said, "I was really good at being sexy. I distracted you, making you look lower, so nobody looked above and saw how terrible the acting was."
How do you think your acting was in Jo Jeeta Wohi Sikandar?
Well, I was nominated for Best Supporting Actress. So that was one, which came as a shock to me.
You were shocked that you got it.
I was shocked. I was shocked that I was nominated.
But I thought you were pretty good as an actress in Jo Jeeta, really. Vishkani, I didn't see. I just remember those posters, but
I don't think I'd be on your Let's Talk show. I went to the Kapil Sharma show, and the Kapil Sharma show, he's saying, "Maine Wish Kanya dekhi," and I looked at him and said, "Sorry." And he started laughing.
But it can be quite a cult film, yeah.
See, today people come in with so much of preparation. Okay, people come in, they've trained for X amount of time with these fabulous, what do you call it? These fabulous coaches, right? Acting coaches.
They're trained.
Yeah, they're fully trained. Today,
in every aspect, not only in acting.
Dance, horse riding, martial arts.
PR marketing.
Everything. It's unbelievable. They are so on top of their game today. We had none of it. I just stumbled into it. I joined Roshan Taneja. I got bored. I left, and Tabu was there at the same time as me. So Farah Khan, when I went on the show, she's like, "You went to Roshan Taneja at the same time as Tabu. Like, who taught you and who taught her?" Because there's such a difference. So I didn't take that seriously, to be honest. I was just good at being sexy, so I reveled in being sexy, right? Being an actor wasn't my thing. It is Alia's thing. Alia is completely committed to her craft. Alia wakes up at 6:30 in the morning and she does a disciplined workout. She goes out there. She does her script readings. She's completely focused on every essential. After script reading, she'll then go to an acting coach. She'll get each scene right. She knows not just her lines. She knows everybody else's lines. She's highly disciplined, highly focused, highly motivated. That's her. She loves acting. She loves her craft, right? I wasn't like that with acting, right? So to me, coming back into films was never an option. I did Masaba for the fun of it. I was asked to play a psychologist who was very full of herself. And I happily played it against the parents, and I happily played that in Masaba. It was fun. So if it was having fun, yes, but you give me a very serious role with dramatic acting,
So Jo Jeeta Wohi Sikandar, what did it do to your career?
Oh my God, it catapulted it in every way. I got so many offers. I signed a lot of films. And it made me this national heartthrob with my Marilyn Monroe moment, with my, again, sexy, with the dress flying, which till today, that was in 1992. So you're talking like, what has been 32 years, 32, 33 years. And 33 years later, people still, every time I walk into a function and an event or even a store sometimes or a cafe where I'm sitting at, the song will start playing. If there's a live band, they will definitely sing my song. So till today, that Pehla Nasha song of mine is iconic. It still plays on the radio. It still appears in different remix versions. People are singing it on the streets of London. And people are sending me videos from there saying, "Oh, Pooja, your song is being sung on the streets of London." And it's so heartwarming to know that something can live way beyond just being a film and a release and its timeline, and echo in people's hearts and memories. And that visual of me on top of the car, for some reason, has stuck mainly in men's minds, I think. But
you never know about women too, yeah?
No, I'm sure. But I'm just saying, it's always the men who come and say, "Ma'am, that moment on the car." I don't hear women saying that. They all talk about Pehla Nasha, but they never talk about.
So till today, whenever someone's proposing to someone,
yeah,
it's that song. Was Amir the perfectionist that we think he was on Jo Jeeta Wohi Sikandar also?
Of course, he was amazing. I remember, he gets better with every take. And I'm a spontaneous person. So I'm great with my first 3 takes. After that, I start going downhill. Okay, and Amir is just getting better and better and better and better and better, right? So I'm like, wow. So I remember this one scene we were doing in Film City. It was damn hot. 12 o'clock in the afternoon doing this thing where I'm sitting there and I get into the car and I say, chalo, chalo. And Deepak is coming running down the thing, Devika, Devika, because I've caught him kissing some other girl and I'm pissed off and I want to go. And so I sit in the car and Amit turns around and says, koi, bhakti aa raha hai, jaise, something. And I'm like, no, nothing, let's go. That one shot of his, it must have been 15, 16, 20, I don't know how many takes he took. And then finally we're like, Amit, it's perfect, it's great. And suddenly he says, but Mansoor, if I take my hat and move it, my cap, and I just slightly angle my cap, will it give my attitude to my character? I'm like, Amir, it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon. It's like hot. It's Film City. We have an open car, right? An open Jeep. I said, we've got how many takes? And you were perfect in your last one. I'm not performing for your cap now,
So did you perform again for the cap?
Anything to make my co-star happy. He has to give his best performance. I mean, it was too sweet. The sets were so young because we were all like 18, 19 years old, and so it was filled with musty and pranks and jokes and giggles and laughter, and in fact recently Jo Jeeta re-released in theaters, and it was just so amazing. I went to the theaters, Mansoor was there and crowds were there, and this man comes up to me holding a ticket in his hand, first day, first show, Jo Jeeta Wohi Sikandar's, and he had 3 tickets and he gave me one of them. And it's just, for me, it was such a heart-stopping moment, saying, my God, people have held on to this for 33 years because it meant so much to them. That movie meant so much to them. So yeah, it felt great. That movie has really defined me, my career, and the rest of my life, because of that film, I still have the eyeballs. Nobody remembers me for Lutere or for Atanki Atank or for Vish Kanya or any of that, or for even Phir Teri Kahani Yaad Aayi, which is a Mahesh Bhatt film. They remember me for Jo Jeeta Wohi Sikandar till today, right? And that film has not only got eyeballs, for my professional life and my personal life, it has just kept me alive. And the most important part of today's industry is staying relevant, right? And it has not allowed me to be irrelevant at any point of time.
How are you and Ayesha Julka?
She's sweet. Everyone is sweet. I love everybody. I don't have issues with people.
No, I'm not saying. But generally, I want to know how. Were you, sisters on the sets? Were you pals?
I didn't have very many scenes with her, actually. The thing is, the film was shot, I think 80%, and then Mansoor reshot it with different cast. I think Amir stayed on, but Aisha replaced a girl called Girija. I replaced someone called Karishma. Deepak Tijori replaced Milan Suman. And so we reshot our scenes completely. And
you replaced Karishma Kapoor or another girl called
Another girl called Karishma.
Acha.
So we reshot so many parts, and the sets that you see, that big mall set, etc., was Film City. So I did a lot of my shots in Film City, and there were days we were on the sets together, but we were all young and happy and fun-loving. In fact, Aisha and me are still friends till today. She just opened up, she had a pop-up at restaurants and stuff like that. She said, Pooja, come and happily go and support her. So the friendship continues 30 years later.
Deepak Tijori.
He's sweet also.
In fact, at one time, they said that he had the potential to be a superstar himself, Deepak.
Well, so be it.
But I thought he was incredible. Mamik.
Mamik was amazing, yeah.
Any moments with Deepak that you can recollect?
No, but the first scene that I shot with Amir in that car, whatever, was Milan Suman running behind, and then they replaced Milan Suman later. So then that shot was reshot with Deepak Tijori.
Yeah.
So I did my first shot actually with Milan Suman in Film City.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been quite a journey, and Jo Jeeta is iconic.
Lutere, Sunny Deol, Juhi Chawla, Chunky Pandey, Nasiruddin Shah, all of them.
And most importantly, an amazing director called Dharmesh Darshan, Toy. I've never experienced a director like Dharmesh Darshan. He knew every shot, every dialogue, every scene way before the film even started shooting. He knew what you were going to wear in which scene. He had visualized the camera angle. He had visualized which lens was going to be used in the camera, how the camera was going to pan in on a scene. He knew it before the shoot even began for the entire film. It was in his head. He was amazing as a director, and he pulled the performance out of you. He was amazing. I loved working with him. It's too much fun.
So you had these films. Then why did you disappear?
I got married.
So you consciously said, I don't want to be in the spotlight.
Well, I got married. I got married to Farhan, who came from a conservative Muslim family, and there was no way on earth his family was going to accept a bahu who came in, who went to the set, because in those days there was a lot of gossip in the film industry, and every time a film released, they were trying to link you up with the heroes, and all that drama would go on. I don't think there was any way they were going to accept a bahu of the house coming in who was still going to be working in films. Now, that I think they would have allowed me to work in films, because back then, once you got married, you stopped doing films. You were off the shelf. Not like today. Today, you can be married, you'll still be in films. You could have kids, you're still welcome to play the heroine roles in films. Cinema has evolved. Audiences have evolved a lot as well. Back then, it was a different ballgame. So that was one. And that too, a sexy bahu, and that too, a sex symbol bahu, and all of this. So I think it was a lot for them to handle. And I just thought about it. And I said, if I'm going to do something, I want to do it well. And I want to do it with full respect. I don't want to walk into a family and make people uncomfortable in the family. So either I don't get married because it's going to create chaos and strife, or I say, you know what, let me fit into that world and see what this is all about as well. I'm not scared of changing my journey. I returned all the money, all my signing amounts for all the films that I'd signed.
Quite a few, huh?
Yeah, because Jo Jeeta Wohi Sikandar catapulted me, So it was like I'd signed so many films. I had to return all that money to all these producers, directors. My Kamasutra campaign had come up for renewal. I had to reject that as well. He offered me, I think, 8 times the amount that he paid me originally. I said, I'm so sorry, I can't, because the family I'm going into will not accept me modeling for condoms. For the next few years of this campaign, is not going to happen. So, I had to back out of that as well. And I decided to start my whole new life as a housewife, in a sense. And also, then of course I started working. I started doing a bed cover business with my ex-husband. He was into furniture. So that journey began. But just very happy to play my new role. I'm not scared of changing direction. I'm not scared of pivoting. If you see my whole life set, all I've done is pivot. And it's taken me to where I am today. So doing films back then are responsible for a large chunk of who I am today. Right? My knowledge of business, which I learned through Farhan when we set up Furniture Wala as a store, that business knowledge again has come into use for me being the businesswoman that I am today. Right? Post my divorce, I started writing relationship columns, right, for Times of India, Heart Chakra. 18 years I wrote this column and guided people along that way. That has got me a whole big fan following that look at me for advice, which is again the life coaching business that I do today, right? If you see the talk shows that I had, right, the talk shows again empowered people, changed mindsets, open minds, shape society in different ways. Again, part of my life purpose, right, which again has brought me to where I am today, right? You see my journey in being a daredevil on Khatro Ke Khiladi, or learning how to dance on Jhalak Dikhla Ja and all these different Nach Baliye and all these programs, again, expressing different parts of yourself. How incredible is this industry that I get to go out there and jump off a helicopter into a freezing lake, or I get to sit in a pit with 100 rats on my body and I'm sorting them out, right? Or I'm being buried underground, or I'm bungee jumping head first 12 floors down, right? And experiencing these parts of my personality, right? And these are things that people only dream about or fear. And this industry has given me the opportunity to express myself, to connect with larger audiences, to try things and challenge myself in ways I never thought possible. I thought I was a terrible dancer. I was actually, if you see Vishkanya and all these things, I was a terrible dancer, right? And yet I've done shows like Nach Baliye and Jhalak Dikhla Ja, and performed brilliantly in so many of those numbers that I did. Amazed myself, I would say, that, oh, I can do this also. How cool is that, right? And then here I am today, right? Doing what I'm doing best, as a life coach, as somebody who's empowering people. I've got, if you go to poojabedi.com, you'll see guided meditations, recorded courses. You'll see things that will empower you and change and shape your life, which is what makes me the happiest to do. Right. So,
but did you miss the spotlight when you were married?
I am in the spotlight.
No, I'm talking about during the Farhan period when you chose to walk away from the industry, gave all that pots of money back, deals, films. Yeah. For a moment, did you feel, oh my God, this is what a lot of people want?
The strange part is I never stopped being famous, because I was really famous for just simply being me. I mean, they called me a paper tiger large amount of times because I would give these interviews and speak my mind and speak openly. And generally, they always made headlines. Even when I was married, for that matter, I was always being featured in something or the other continuously.
डेलुलू सोलुलू बच्चे की जान लोगे क्या हाई ऑन चाय चाय प्रेमी विचित्र प्राणी बुलाती है मगर जाने का नहीं yes Angar's latest collection of t-shirts hoodies jumpsuits are out trendy cool new designs with slogans that you and I see in our daily lives at affordable prices. Also, if you're an Angar customer, if you have the Angar merchandise with you, click pics with them and post it on your Instagram and tag me at @Sid_Kannan and I would love to repost them. Angar pehno or Angar machao.
What was it about Farhan, or let me put it this way, how did you meet Farhan and how did this happen where you said, I can do anything for this man to quit my career?
Well, he really pursued me. That's one. I was the sexy girl, so obviously he wanted to meet me, and he found a common friend, and he tried everything in his power to impress me and to woo me and to do everything in his power. And there was such funny moments, and I was always playing hard to get because my home used to look like a florist shop. There used to be flowers, maybe about 30, 40 bouquets at every point of time from people trying to send me flowers and charm me and doing all of that. And I remember Farhan had got this common friend who he was trying to liaise with to get to meet me. And this friend said, Pooja is quite the Casanova and you don't want to meet him and he's not the boy to know. And I said, why am I bothering to meet him? No, Pooja is really, on my case, and just meet him once and say it's done and dusted and you're not interested. And but he never gave up. And I remember this time he came to pick me up from somewhere to drop me somewhere because that friend was supposed to do that, and he bribed that friend to say you're sick, I will go pick her up and drop her home. And so when he arrived, I said, what are you doing here? He said, oh no, the person is very sick, very unwell, loose stomach suddenly, and he's requested me to come and drop you home. And initially I refused to be dropped by him, and then he said, no, but you have to go home and I can't let you take public transport and it's my responsibility. And I promised to the friend, and anyway I get into the car and he says, so should we have dinner? So I said, no, we cannot have dinner. And he said, no, I'll take you to a really nice place. Have you ever been to Otters Club? So I said, and I'd been to Otters Club. I learned my 30 lengths of swimming at Otters Club with Bijoy Jain. So I said, no, I've never been to Otters Club and I want to go home. So he said, if I just come and see it, right? I said, I'll tell you what, I'll come and I'll have a look at it. If I don't like it, you will drop me home. He said, yeah. I said, okay. So went inside. What it looks like. I walked inside, looked around, said, no, it's not very nice. I want to leave. And then he looks at me, says, the food is amazing here. The food is so good. So I looked at him. I was walking past the poolside, and I looked at him and I said, you know what? If I can eat dinner on the third diving board of this club, and the top diving boards are always the cemented ones, right? So I said, I can have dinner on the third diving board of this club. Chalo, I'll have dinner with you. He bribed everybody, every waiter, every kind of. He had me just tottering up the ladder to go up to the diving board with the kebabs and the beer, whatever it was.
My God.
And I sat there on this cemented diving board looking up at the stars, looking at this man saying, how sweet. That's a lot of effort. Maybe I could just get to know him a little bit better and see where this goes. And that's how the journey began. And and it's destiny and it's karma and it's just a beautiful journey. And I wouldn't have wanted to be married to anybody else, and I wouldn't have been wanting to divorce anybody else. And there were great memories, great days. We all went from strength to strength where we are today, and the journey was had. The story is told. It took I have to say, it took a lot of courage for him as well, because he was going against his entire family. And it's not easy for a man in business with his father to go against the grain, especially when you're part of a big community, and to stand by what you believe. Not that you had a relationship with this girl and then you say goodbye to her and you marry somebody of your father and mother's choice. That you choose to follow your heart and choose to follow that process. So full marks to him as well for the decisions he took and the chances he took and the courage it must have taken him and what he must have had to face in his family and his community and all of that for the decisions that he made. And love is love. Love is blind. You're in love. You're in love. You will conquer the world. You will deal with whatever comes your way because also you're young. I met him when I was 20 years old. I was just 20 and I was with him till I was 32. So, it was a large part of my growing up years. And I'm so grateful for that entire journey.
Was Salman Khan actually your confidant where he used to tell you that he's going through a tough time and he used to confide in you and you once told him ki maine pyar kiya is not going to work? Huh?
No, he was not my confidant or anything of the sort, but he was very close to Anna Singh. And he would come to Anna's home a lot. And yeah, we were all friends, obviously, because we all were sharing the same, friend circle. And he would come to Anna's home a lot. And remember, he said this film was coming up, Maine Pyar. So Anna and me very sweetly went along to see this film, and we saw this in this Kabutar Ja Ja Ja. And Anna and me came out and said, "My God, not a very good film, and poor fellow is going to be heartbroken when it flops, and we need to be there as his support system, and we need to be there, taking cry on our shoulders." Next thing you know, the film is the bloody biggest hit in the world, and he's gone from strength to strength. So it's amazing. It's amazing.
But would he actually talk to you about his lows and things like that?
Oh, I mean, we're friends. So as much as men decide to share, how much do men actually share in their life? They always want to be like cool and macho, right? So men are like that. Yeah, it's the women who talk about their emotions and their fears and their dreams and their love and their heartbreaks. And it's women who are far more vocal and expressive, at least back then.
So tell me about the Salman Khan back then.
He was just really fun. He was really fun. In fact, he came in my talk show also many years later. And I was grilling him about a lot of things. He was so charming on the show. You should show snippets of it if you can. These are really authentic people. I mean, Amir and Salman and, a lot of the actors from our generation, Jackie, just really nice guys, full of fun. They had personality, they had wit, they had integrity of, they were just different. They were just molded differently. And it was so entertaining to be around people who had personality. Right. And I think that's what really defined our generation. People were eccentric in different ways, and people had personalities that have sustained over time, me included.
Yeah, but nowadays they can't do that, Pooja, because there's so many cameras around. Then they're told, be this way, be that way. This is what you got to do. Then the managers, PR people start guiding them. Those days, the stars, people like you, all of them just did what they felt like doing and saying what they felt like doing.
But Sid, also today I find everyone a little very molded a certain way.
Yeah.
Like they fashion themselves, like they pretty much dress in the similar manners. They style themselves in a similar way. They shoot themselves in a similar way. It's very glossy. It's very polished. It's very professional. Right, which is great because that's what the generation of today demands. Now you can't say there's a better or a worse. Those are the needs of today. And they cater to the needs of today. They cater to the audiences of today. And basically, if your demographic that you're catering to likes it, that's what you will keep doing, demand and supply, right? In our days, it was very different because we didn't have social media. We weren't engaged directly with our audiences. We were just too busy being ourselves. We didn't know how that resonated with people. Because actors were people that people aspired to meet, right? And later this thing about footage, kitna footage kha rahe, kitna footage, and there comes from our zamana where everyone's trying to get a little bit more real time, in your shot more than anything else. Today it's about social media presence, and today it's about that whole zamana that's come in, which is great because it's a new world, and we have to keep up with the times.
You also stood by Aryan Khan when he was getting arrested during that time. Do you think the media is sometimes, or the system around is sometimes very harsh on star kids?
Okay, so firstly, I have an issue when my country has separate laws for its citizens. So I don't know the merits or demerits of the case. I'm not here to judge, was somebody doing something, was somebody not. My point is this. If the sadhus of India can roam around smoking marijuana openly, right? And the sadhus and the Naga Babas and all of them are roaming around naked. Why is Milind Soman, who's done an incredible shoot at turning 50, and he shot this incredibly most beautiful styled shoot on the beach, naked, but you can't see anything. You can just see his incredible body shape and running. He's a great athlete, aesthetic, beautiful. Why are you going out there with arrest warrants for millions, so much for nudity, when Naga Babas are roaming around with their private parts in full display, roaming around? My point was, why does our country have two sets of laws, two sets of rules for its citizens? We should have one set of rules and laws for all our citizens. Why is it that there's a religious exemption? If Milind had put 3 strokes of ash in his head, would it have been acceptable? So my issue is with the law of this country. So if the Naga Babas can go out there and be smoking their chillums and their joints and everything, then you should allow that or enable that for the rest of the country. Not saying Aryan did or Aryan did. That's not my business. That's not my domain of knowledge. I have no clue about that. My point is the laws have to be equal for the citizens of India, right? And that was my stand.
You've had your share of relationships as well. Are you friends with all of them?
Yes, and they're all friends with each other also.
You're saying all your boyfriends are all friends with each other?
Yeah. Well, let's just say that I have such a good relationship with them, and it ends really well and very positively. So say my current fiance, my only fiance.
My current fiance. No, but I get it. It's okay. My current fiance.
My fiance, my one and only fiance, apart from the time that I was engaged before marriage. So Manik is really on great terms with my ex-husband, B, all my ex-boyfriends that have come post my divorce, and everyone gets along.
So are you in touch with Akashdeep and all of them?
Yeah, I mean, not so much in touch with Sky because he's a bit of a maverick and a bit of a recluse. I think Manik has met him once at a concert, that too. Sky is a little different. Sky is, he marches to the beat of his own drama. But he's highly spiritual.
Yeah.
He's got these crazy energetic forces that he works with, which is amazing. And he's there. Then there's Hanif. He's a doll. He's a sweetheart. He's one of the nicest people. Hanif was 12 years younger to me. So that was a very controversial relationship in different ways because of the age gap, firstly. And there were so many questions that surrounded it. But, it was just something that was one of the most steady, one of the most decent, one of the most, I dated for almost 4 years. And he was wonderful with the kids. And my career grew from strength to strength when he was there. He just balanced everything. He kept things stable. He kept things loving. He was a wonderful support system to me. My kids adored him. They still love him. All these men who've come into my life, my kids have really been fascinated, entertained, and very respectful and very taken care of and supported by the men in my life. Yes.
Fair enough. I respect that. You've always had such a beautiful relationship with your father. The moment I talk about your father, your eyes get moist, you've got that big smile. And then in the middle, we heard that you guys were not on talking terms.
Can you believe it?
Yeah, but
me and my daddy, who have loved and adored
the girl
him like
who's
my
crazy
daddy.
about her dad,
Yeah.
and dad's crazy about his daughter. Why would you not talk?
So there was a situation and circumstance that did arise, which was a personal level fight, right? And it was my first fight with my father ever, because I've never fought with my father ever. And and this happened when I was all of 40, I think. This happened in 2012. So that was 42. Yeah, so I was about 42 years old. So till the age of 42, I've never fought with my father. Okay, and there was a certain dispute that took place, which really upset me very deeply. And I made it known, and he reacted not so favorably to the situation. And I actually felt at that point of time that the person in his life should have intervened and made things okay, because that's what you do as a family. As a family, you step in and you sort things out. But there was nobody from his side who stepped in to sort things out. There was nobody who reached out to say, hey, let's resolve this. Nobody. And that really felt bad. And the fallout became public fodder, which again, I was really hurt about, because what is between my father and me should stay between my
How
father
did it get
and me.
out?
I don't know, but the first few articles that came out were anti-me, so I presume it could only have come from their side. Because I certainly, if it had come from my side, it would be pro-me. And that hurt as well. But I never stopped being wonderful to my father, because I know that situations happen and things happen that don't go your way, and that's okay. But the person is wonderful, and I love my father very much. And every time I'd meet him at function event, for years this went on, I'd meet him at function events, I'd walk right up to him and I'd give him a big hug and say, "Daddy, I love you," and give him a kiss. And he'd sometimes say, "There's no need to hug me in public." And I say, "Yes, there is. You're my daddy and I love you. And I never stop loving you." Okay. And I'd walk away. But I knew one day it'll be fine. I knew one day my father will miss me way too much and he will come back, because, I did nothing wrong. And whatever shaped the relationship to go south, and whatever influences were there that may have not helped put us together and resolve the situation right there and then, whatever it be, no fingers pointed. I'm just saying, I'm just really happy that I kept at it with my father and kept at making that bond and reaching out to him and sending him loving messages or meeting him in public warmly, and always making a point to speak well of my father, right? Because he matters. And I love him. And I'll continue to love him till the day he dies, or the day I die, whichever comes first. Today you never know, And it's such a special relationship, and one I've nurtured and cherished. And and to me, it's been my father and my mother who've been my greatest influences through life, and I love them. Not that your parents can't be wrong. Parents can be wrong, right? But there's no punishing that needs to take place. There's no need to pull forward an issue beyond its expiry date. Right. And when my father and me finally started reconnecting and talking again, it was the happiest moment for me, because Papa was back. Right. And I love him, and I mean, now it's become my wellness buddy, because I go to these places and I take him along with me. So I'm like,
Why
"Daddy,"
not?
I'm like, "Daddy, come on, we're on a swastik retreat, 5 days, rejuvenation." So I took him there and he really sort of blossomed and he was looking great with the Ayurveda and the treatments. And then recently, last month, I took him to Saswara in Gokarna, and again, 5 days of rejuvenation and all of that. I said, "Dad, you're going to be my wellness partner. You're going to be my wellness travel buddy, and, keep rebooting your energy and your well-being so that we can have many, many years of great, happy travels and adventures and father-daughter bonding."
In fact, you're so good with people, and that's exactly how it is. Or let me put it this way, he's so good with people, and that's
Yeah.
exactly how you
Yeah.
are. You both have this effortless way of connecting with people. I mean, you don't need to make the effort, he's just there. Your
Yeah.
dad also,
Yeah.
he makes everyone feel very important in front of him.
Well, people matter, Sid. People matter. And the important thing is to let people know they matter, right? A lot of us are very ego driven, or have my boundaries in my spaces, or not wanting to have a personal connection. I love people. I love meeting people. I love interacting with people. I love getting to know people, their mind spaces, what shapes them, what are their attitudes, why they behave the way they behave. Maybe I learn something, right? I learn so much from watching relationships around me. I learn what to do. I learn what not to do. Right? I learn what works, what doesn't work, and how a little effort in this way can create dramatic impacts in different aspects of your life. And I'm always fascinated when I meet a human being, because you say, for example, you're 42, right?
46.
46. Oh, you're doing very well for yourself. Okay. So, you've had 46 years, which I haven't had a part of knowing, which have shaped you to being the person you are. Right? Can you imagine the stories, the wealth of information, the knowledge, the experiences, the learnings that you have, okay, which, say, if you're having a conversation, say we're having this conversation, I'm sharing something with you, it's the sum total of who I am for 55 years that I'm concising into little nugget-sized bits of conversation and putting it out there. Same with you. So when you're talking to people, not in a podcast situation, but even otherwise, and you're having an engaging discussion, you're learning so much, I mean, I could meet somebody, people say, "I don't know what to talk to them about here. I don't know. I find people boring. I don't know what to talk to them about." I'm like, ask them anything. If it's a housewife, tune into saying what makes her happy, where does she derive her sense of strength from? How does she handle a mother-in-law issue that she has? How does she feel best that it could have been handled? And, and explore maybe her favorite recipe. Maybe there's so much you can learn. There's somebody has an old wives' tale. Somebody has knowledge of how to do napkin folding differently. There's something to learn somewhere. It's or maybe she'll have some philosophical bent of mind. Maybe she has a spiritual breakthrough that she wants to share. There's always something that you will learn, which will enable and empower your journey forward as well, right? Because everything is information. Who are you today, Sid? Who are you? You are Sid Kannan. Who are you? I'm a talk show host. Who are you? I'm a businessman. Who are you? External. Who are you? You are nothing but a sum total of your SEER programming. SEER. S is your social programming. Behave like this, talk like this, समाज क्या बोलेंगे, ये पहनो, vegetarian बनो, non-vegetarian बनो, etc. Your economic programming, which is your relationship with money. If you've been taught from childhood, rich people are bad people, money doesn't grow on trees, rich people are surrounded by chamchas and fake friends, and even though your conscious mind wants money and your subconscious program is saying rich equals bad, you'll never be rich, right? Because why would you want to be with a bad person with bad values and immoral and utterly corrupt, surrounded by fake friends and chamchas, right? So in India especially, we have terrible programming when it comes to money, right? So economic programming. Third is your experiences. If you've been cheated by someone, you learn to be distrustful. Cheat in a relationship, you learn to be jealous and insecure. So your experiences teach you as well. And then there's R, which is your religious programming, right? Which tells you good, bad, heaven, hell, pap, punya, karma, whatever. You learn all these things, right? So you are nothing but a total of your SEER programming. And that's the programs that are running you and your reactions and everything to life. So you change your programming, everything changes. Because suddenly when you see the world is different, everything is different, right? So that's what I'm talking about. I love people. I love exploring their SEER programming. I love seeing what makes you, what drives you, what is fueling you. Why is it that two things can happen, the same thing can happen to two people, and both will respond so differently to the same situation? SEER programming. So I would look at divorce as a positive thing because it's an empowering decision to make. Somebody else may see it as the end of life. That is, it's over for them. Who will marry them? They have baggage now called children. Their life is over. They're doomed. It's over. Why me? That's their programming because that's how they've been taught to respond to situations. I could have a stepmother who comes into my life and say, "Yay, how lovely!" And somebody would see us, "Sauteli ma." And there'd be anger and conflict and all of that. Programming. That's all it is.
Alia, do you think she's got her due?
Alia is just beginning. She is, I have to say, I have never met somebody so disciplined, so
And she's a good kid.
She's amazing.
She's very balanced.
She's an amazing human being. She's kind. She's gentle. She's loving. She's loyal. She's respectful. She's generous beyond belief. She's hardworking. She's got this bent of mind. If I'm doing something, it has to be perfect. And she's at it morning, afternoon, and night, morning, afternoon, and she conquers it. It could be the ball thing that she's doing. It could be her calisthenics. It could be teasing me. She's brilliant at teasing me. My God. I mean, if anyone takes my case royally, it's Alia. I mean, she's and she's everybody in splits of laughter while she does it. She does it effortlessly, day after day. And more than anything, what I really admire about her is she said when she's entering films, I said, "Oh, Alia, great." I said, "Oh, Alia, great. And I'm going to call this one. I'll call that one." "You will call nobody." I said, "But I have friends in the industry. Let me call them and see if there's some nice film happening. Do they want to audition you for it?" "Mama, you will not interfere in my career. If I need your help, I will ask for it. I want to do this myself." And she did. I've never made a single call for this girl. I've never had to ease anything anywhere or to make sure things were sorted for her. She went, she found her own representation with Kwan at that point of time, which is now Collective today. She went and she did her courses. She's gone and done her due diligence with what all she needs to do. Rejected projects, gone for the auditions, decided for herself which film she wanted to do first, which she wanted to do second, carefully thought of, and just shaped her career to being what it is today. And her influencer role as well, all the stuff she does on her Instagram, all the brands that she endorses. She's moved out about 4 years ago from the home to have her own space, to be able to have her life her way. And she's done it brilliantly. She hasn't taken, again, a penny from us for the last 4.5 years. She's been completely independent. Bought her own car, got her own home, just so confident and so put together and so collected. And today there's this whole debate that goes on about nepotism, right? And everyone talks a lot about nepotism. This word is thrown around a lot, and I think it's so unfair, Sid. Because if it happens in any other profession, no one shouts it. So if a businessman's son becomes a businessman in the same company, no one says nepotism. Ambani ka beta, Ambani business mein chala gaya. No one's shouting nepotism there. Whether it's Singhanias, whether this one, that. No one's shouting nepotism, right? When you see an artist's son become an artist, or a politician's son become a politician, or a banker's son become a banker, or a doctor's son become a doctor, nobody screams nepotism. But isn't it normal that if you grow up in an environment, it becomes second nature to you? If you grow up in an industry, whether it's being a doctor, whether it's being an artist, or whether it's being a business person, it becomes like duck to water, because you're familiar with the industry, you're familiar with the nature of that, and you've already decided, yes, this works for me. Or if it doesn't work for me, you walk away from it and decide what else works for you. But it's so normal that if you've been brought up in an environment, you live it, you eat it, you breathe it, you're networked in it, you know the people in it and all of that, it's normal to go into that same industry because you already have an affinity for it. And in every profession this happens. Why is it that only in films do we yell this word? And it's so unfair to those children, because you're talking about an industry, which is highly temperamental, with no guarantees. If you're a doctor, you have a practice, you have a business, you set it up, you've got your degree, it goes on and on and on. Same with business, same with other aspects. In the film industry, it's highly unpredictable, right? You could have one hit and you could have 20 flops and you're out. There's no guarantees for anything. Where's your next paycheck going to come from? You could be great today. You could earn very well today. But in your 50s or your 60s, do you still have enough money to survive? How many people actually make it as actors all the way into their 50s and 60s? How many, and how much are they earning at that point of time? And look at the volumes of people entering the industry, including from film families. How are they earning their money today? It's a very volatile industry. It takes courage. It takes courage to say, I believe in my talent, I believe in my ability, and I really want to do this. I'm willing to take that gamble in a sense, because as an actor, you're not really dependent, on just your skills. It's also your co-star, it's also the unit, it's also the script writer, it's also the editor, it's also the director, it's also the audiences, it's also the storyline. Everything plays a role in your future. But the whole onus of everything comes on to you. And it's hard. And it's scary. You don't know when your next paycheck's going to come in, whether you'll be relevant today and irrelevant tomorrow. It's a huge risk to take, right? Equally for anyone else who comes into the industry. But star kids have so much more to lose. Face, name, reputation, expectations, all that's thrust upon them, and then this big word called nepotism. It's just so unfair. They're also young, they're kids, they're in their late teens, early 20s. What are you like in your late teens, early 20s? There was so much hope, there was so much vulnerability, there was so much josh, there was so much excitement, there was so much care, and then suddenly you feel society is pouncing on you just because you're someone's child. That's so unfair.
Thank you so much, Pooja. It's been amazing, huh? Honestly, yeah. I've taken so much away from you.
Really?
And like whenever you say things, I go into a trance thinking about certain aspects of my life, and I kind of relate to that and understand, and generally life lessons, yeah. But I want to give you a small gift. Santosh, wo ek yellow bottle de dena mujhe.
I get a gift.
Thank
Sweet
you.
Sid.
Okay, so this is Kawaii Cosmetics.
Oh, we're promoting the wife, are we?
Yes. So Neha did 5 years of research on this, because both my daughters Aridia and Saisha would steal her perfumes and
Okay.
sprayed on themselves, and she didn't want that to happen.
Okay.
So these perfumes are safe, water-based, no alcohol, got vitamin E.
See, anything to do with wellness has my heart. So anything that is wellness-based, that is eco-friendly, that is something that doesn't have chemicals and all of that, I will always support. So guys, this is something that's good for you. You'll smell good, you'll feel good, you'll save the environment and save your skin as well. And I'm so proud of her. And please tell her she can log on to happysoulindia.com and sell her products happily on my site. I will happily promote her there as well. Yeah,
Oh, nice.
it's. I'm very happy when people are into wellness, because I really said wellness is the future. Wellness is the future, and I think, I win so many awards in wellness today. In fact, next week again, I'm winning one at the Times of India summit that's happening in Delhi. So I think it's extremely important for the 8 pillars of holistic wellness, as we say, right? Your mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, social, sexual forms of wellness, for us to explore them all. Because as you are sum total of your SEER programming, we're also sum total of our holistic wellness ecosystem. So if you're physically well but mentally not okay, or sexually not okay, or socially stumped, there's a problem. So everyone out there who's watching this program, right? Focus on holistic wellness and be the best that you can be. And this is Sid's wife's lovely perfume product. And all you people who are watching this, you owe him at least one sale on happysoulindia.com. See you there.
Yes, we're going to get her on there. Kawai means cute. And you really are, really. I've always admired you. And you're all heart. And there's only one Pooja Bedi, and that's you.
So sweet. Thank
Bye.
you.